Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you've got any questions for me today, you can pop them in the comments on the live feed wherever you are watching this video. If you need any more advice, you can join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where there are accountants and business experts like me on hand for you 24/7. During the session today, we are going to be running a poll, so please do engage with it, and I will be revealing the results for you at the end. So good morning, everybody, and happy Thursday. My name is Rachel, and I am a TEDx speaker, an author, a business owner, and most importantly for today, I am an accountant. I specialise in working with female entrepreneurs and influencers, and our wider accountancy practice, Strivex, helps businesses of all shapes and sizes, and we absolutely love offering a person-centred, holistic approach to the way that we offer accountancy services. I am really active on Instagram and social media. I would absolutely love to see you over on my channel, so you can find me by searching for accountant_she. So whilst we're waiting for some of your juicy questions to come in, I thought I would run through exactly what different options you have if you are looking to become an accountant. So I thought to kick things off at the very start, you might like to know a little bit about my journey becoming an accountant. So I studied up to and including my A-level qualifications at school. And then after that, I took an apprenticeship working in the finance department at my local council. At the same time as that, I was going to night school and kicked off my AAT training at my local college. From there, while studying at night school, up to full AAT membership, I progressed through some different roles. So I went from an apprentice to an accounts junior, to an accounts assistant, to a senior accountant, then a finance manager. At that point, it takes us up to January 2020, where I decided to really take the next step in my studies, and I was able to use my accountancy qualifications to obtain a place on an executive MBA, which is a master's in business. I'm still on that course, and during the time that I've been on the course, I have actually launched my own accountancy practice, which has been an incredible experience. This time last year, we were a one-man band with 50 clients, and we are soon to be a team of 7, and we've just gone over 310 clients. So it's been a wild ride. So first things first, what is an accountant? An accountant is somebody like me who is responsible for keeping, interpreting, and analysing the financial records of a company. And within the accounting industry, there are 2 main types of accountant. We have industry, and then we have practice. So industry accountants are people who work within the financial department of a wider company and focus on the internal accounts. And then we've got practice accountants, and those are the people who work within a firm of accountants like mine, and they work on external clients' statutory accounts. So when people are considering becoming an accountant for the first time, a lot of people consider a foundation level diploma as the place to start, rather than jumping straight into chartered qualifications. So the most popular accounting diploma is AAT, which stands for the Association of Accounting Technicians. And AAT is made up of 3 levels: level 2, level 3, and level 4. So I thought firstly I would just break those down for you to get an understanding of what level you might like to start at and then what comes next. So level 2 is for somebody with no accounting experience, maybe looking to get an entry-level job in accounting. Level 3 is for somebody with a little bit of experience and maybe somebody who is looking for some career progression. And then level 4 is for somebody who has done level 2 and level 3 and is maybe looking to become a manager within the industry. So once you've completed the full AAT qualification, you'll then become a full member and you'll get the letters MAAT after your name. So from there, lots of people who start with AAT are individuals who are starting from scratch with no experience or qualifications in finance. If, however, you've got a degree in accounting, finance, or maths, you might decide to skip AAT altogether or start at a later level and then go on to do your chartered exams. When you're there, you've completed AAT, or you've got a degree or some prior experience and you're looking at doing your chartered qualifications, there's a couple of different options to consider. So within the UK, the top 3 chartered qualifications are CIMA, ACCA, and ACA. So I'm just going to run through super quickly what they are, the similarities and the differences. So all 3 qualifications, in order to qualify at the end, require 3 years of relevant work experience, and they range from 12 to 15 exams, and they usually take between 3 and 4 years to complete. There are exemptions available for some exams. So if you've got a diploma like AAT or a degree or relevant work experience, then you can leverage them to skip a couple of exams, which is great news for everybody. So I'm just going to run through those 3 qualifications, what they stand for, what they mean, and who they are really aimed towards. So CIMA stands for the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. And so this qualification is best suited to people who already or would like to work in industry. ACCA stands for the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, and this qualification is widely accepted in both industry and practice. Then finally, ACA is governed by the ICAEW, which stands for the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. And again, this is another worldwide qualification that is great for any accountant, regardless of the industry that you work in. Okay, so then moving on to funding. There's a couple of different funding options in the UK, and again, like any good future accountant, you are thinking about the finances. So the first option for a lot of people is self-study and privately funding, but it can be pretty pricey. So next up is apprenticeships, which is a fantastic opportunity to work and study towards the qualification within the UK. And within an apprenticeship, all 3 parties, the employer, the employee, and the training provider, all enter into a training agreement, which is a commitment for all parties, and it's really, really supportive for everybody. The third option is student finance. So if you haven't got an apprenticeship and you can't afford to privately fund, then student finance might be the option for you. Next up, we've got how to gain experience. So many people find that whilst they're studying, obtaining work experience is really, really difficult, and sometimes this impacts the job prospects that you have. I just wanted to run through sort of like my top tips for getting experience and landing a role within finance before I start taking your juicy questions that I can see flying in. So when we think about the fact that some employers don't like hiring people with no experience, we firstly need to just think about why that is. And why wouldn't somebody want you if you don't have any experience within the industry? And the answer to that is they think it'll take a lot of time to train you, bring you up to speed. So there are things that you can do for free in partnership with amazing software like QuickBooks to help you cover the gaps in your knowledge and really make yourself very, very employable. So you can get certified as a QuickBooks accountant for free, which is just incredible. And that is you telling your future employer, I do understand software, I can hit the ground running, and I have put the work in my own time to make myself a fantastic candidate for this job. So we've looked at how to become an accountant. We've looked at what an accountant is, the foundational diploma, the chartered exams, the funding options, and how to use QuickBooks to make yourself more employable. So I think now it's time to answer some of your questions. So Adrian from the Twitter DMs has said, what should card machine fees be logged as within my accounts? Great question, Adrian. So card machines for a lot of people, you can either set up your own code, which within QuickBooks is super easy. So for a lot of businesses that we work with, we have a lot of e-commerce businesses, and actually card machine fees make up a huge part of their business. So one option would be to create your own nominal code called card fees and code it to there, or you can use one of the other codes that already exists that's best suited to that expense. So I hope that really helped you, Adrian. Cam on Facebook Messenger has asked, I am a sole trader and planning to buy some assets using the director's loan in my new limited company. Will I be able to avoid corporation tax and dividend taxes on the value as I draw it out over time? So, Cam, When you're purchasing assets within the limited company, if you don't have the funds within the company, you can pay for it personally and then code this as a loan to your director's loan account. And because that's you loaning the company some money, as and when you then draw down on the loan to repay yourself, that is tax-free because it's just a loan. You're not withdrawing profits. So again, I hope that answered your question. Again, we do get lots and lots of questions about director's loan accounts within our practice. It is something that's really, really interesting, especially when we're dealing with new businesses. So a lot of brand new businesses, if you incorporate your company, set up your business bank account, there's no money in your bank account. So that first initial top up, some people maybe transfer £1,000 to £3,000. You can transfer money into the bank account, and then that then goes into your director's loan account. And again, you can draw down on that at any time. So the next question has come from Instagram. Jeffrey has slid into the Instagram DMs and he has said, how long in total does it take to train to be an accountant, and how much time do you get around your studies? Okay, this is a really, really good question. So in terms of the AAT qualifications, generally people apply 1 year to each level. So level 2, level 3, level 4, that would be 3 years. There are some really, really cool, interesting options. If you are looking to absolutely smash your exams and fly through them, there are some colleges that do offer doing 2 levels in one go. That is very intense, and I would definitely recommend having the support of your employer before you look at those options. But it is worth knowing that for AAT, level 2, level 3, and level 4, they're normally 1 year each. So that would be 3 years to do your AAT. At that point, you become an accounting technician. If after that you then go on and decide to become a chartered accountant, as I mentioned earlier, the chartered qualifications generally take between 3 and 4 years. So if you are absolutely flying and you're sitting exams at every opportunity, you can get through the exams in 3 years. We as an employer really encouraging people to pace themselves, and 4 years is a really, really great target. It gives yourself time to take a break, which is very important, rest and look after your well-being while you're studying, which is very important. And then also sometimes it does give you some time in case you do fail an exam to sit a retake. In terms of how much time do you get around your studies, I guess there's 2 elements to this question. The first part is like, how much time do you put into studying whilst working? And we actually released a YouTube video this morning, which is a day in the life of an accounting apprentice, and that was really interesting. And I actually sat with one of our apprentices and spoke about like how they find studying and working at the same time, and it is really, really interesting. And I think so many people maybe don't give themselves time to take breaks or be kind to themselves. So I would definitely, my top tip would be to incorporate a bit of kindness and self-care into your study routine and study schedule, which is something that is very difficult to do because you go into it being very, very motivated. But I think it's very important to be kind to yourself as well. So Lily on Twitter has asked, what sort of people skills do you think it takes to become a successful accountant? I imagine there's lots of speaking to clients, explaining things and coaching them. You are absolutely spot on, Lily. I think there's a very, very strong stereotype within the accounting industry that is, we actually watched the film The Accountant the other day for the first time. I don't know how it took us that long because we are literally accountants, but yeah, myself and my fiance watched the film The Accountant the other day, and he's literally portrayed as this sort of like awkward, autistic, like middle-aged man, and there's definitely a strong stereotype. And for us as a practice, it is all about changing that and about making accountancy very approachable. And there's such a huge element of people skills that a lot of people sort of like don't realize. One of the biggest skills that I think it takes to become an accountant is problem solving. A lot of people think that it's very, very, very heavy on maths. And whilst it is in essence a maths subject, it's very much about problem solving, spotting problems, finding patterns, finding mistakes. So I would say if maths isn't your strongest subject, but you are a really big problem solver, you could still make a great accountant. So don't let that put you off. And yeah, in terms of people skills, especially within practice, So we are a practice of accountants where we deal with external clients on their statutory accounts, and our entire life is made up of speaking to clients, guiding them, coaching them. Specifically through the pandemic, it's been way more focused on people skills rather than like accounting skills, which has been really, really interesting. So I hope that answered your question, Lily, and thank you so much for getting in touch. Okay, so Amina from Instagram has said, I'm hoping to move to the US and continue working as an accountant. Which qualifications are still valid over there, or are there any new ones that I will need? Great question, Amina. So ACCA and ACA are global qualifications. So if you are studying towards ACCA and ACA, they are actually recognized worldwide. So while some of the, obviously like the tax rates and the tax elements will change, so you might want to do a couple of like optional, maybe like CPD exams where you're really, really in touch with your local tax reporting. ACCA and ACA are globally recognized accounting qualifications, which is really, really cool. So Stephen from YouTube, hi Stephen, has said, hi, I've sent an invoice to a customer and they paid through our new PayPal account. However, PayPal take their fees off this, so I'm not sure how to take it off the banking feed, please. Okay, Stephen, so when you've connected your PayPal onto QuickBooks, there's a couple of different options. So the first option is that you will have connected it using the setting where when the receipt comes through, let's say the customer pays you £100 and the bank charges were £2. Rather than there being a £100 and a £2, it's actually just pulled through as £98, which it sounds like this has happened for you. You can actually just split that, record a receipt of £100 and then deduct charges, code them to bank charges of £2. But it's actually super, super common. And I think QuickBooks are working with PayPal to actually reverse that. So instead of just pulling through £98, it's going to pull through £102. Again, firstly, because as small business owners, it's really important to know how much you're being charged. And secondly, it can actually impact your turnover figures. So some people might, for example, think that they are below the VAT threshold when actually they've been reporting their turnover less their charges, which could actually put them over the VAT threshold. But I hope that answers your question, Stephen, and thank you so much for getting in touch. Luca on Twitter DM has said, does it cost a lot to get these qualifications, and is there financial support available to help with the cost of it? Yes, Luca. So the most popular option within the industry is, like, by such a long way, is apprenticeships, because from your perspective as an employee and as somebody that's training, it is completely free to study. Your employer bears the weight of all of the cost of training. It's also worth saying, and I've not said this yet, that it is an industry standard to offer study support. And if you are looking at jobs with no study support, keep looking, because it's very rare to find an employer that doesn't offer study support, and actually it really just sets the tone for that relationship. So I would definitely encourage you to find an employer that offers study support or an apprenticeship scheme, because it firstly protects you as someone that's studying and working at the same time. It really makes sure that the employer, your employer, is mapping out their commitment to you. So first things first, it's very important to know that an apprenticeship is by far, from an employee's perspective, the most cost efficient way to study, because from your perspective, it is completely free. As an employer, if you're looking to put your employees through some accounting qualifications, there are options like the apprenticeship levy, where you just have to contribute 5% towards the cost of the course up to a certain level. So 5% of the fees covered, the 95% actually comes from the government, because it's in the government's benefit to get a really, really highly skilled workforce within the nation. So from an employee's perspective, using the apprenticeship levy, it's completely free, and you can do apprenticeships through AAT level 2, 3, 4, all the way up through your entire ACCA qualification and even beyond there. So from an employee's perspective, really important to know that full study support is very common within our industry, and you should definitely be looking for roles with those. And secondly, from an employer's perspective, there are lots of government funding available for you to help you support your employees through there. I did just cover off briefly as well, Luca, I'm not sure if you missed it, but like outside of apprenticeships, if for some reason you don't want an apprenticeship or you can't get one, you can privately fund, but it can be very expensive. The alternative, if you can't privately fund and you can't get an apprenticeship, would be a student loan. Again, I would definitely encourage people to consider apprenticeships. I'd say there is a sort of misconception within the industry that if you are going for an apprenticeship, you're going to be paid minimum wage, which for an apprentice, I think is between £3 and £4. That is absolutely not the case. So we do not hire any apprenticeships on the minimum wage. We put them on an apprenticeship scheme. We fully fund all of their training, but we're still hiring them at the going rate, 5% above the going rate for that role. So don't think that if you are going for an apprenticeship, you have to settle for the sort of £4 an hour minimum wage. Not the case as well. So hopefully, Luca, that answers your question and maybe fills you with a little bit of like encouragement that you will be able to find something with study support at a good wage that's really, really supportive as well. Okay, so Alexandra has asked, how often do you need to renew your licenses or certifications, and how long does it take? That's a really, really good question, Alexandra. And actually, my lovely fiance, so I run the business with my life partner and business partner, James, and he was actually doing his CPD certificate yesterday. So as chartered, certified, or like qualified members of accounting bodies, you have to renew and keep your license up to date every single year. So the first thing is that you have to pay a license fee every single year to put letters after your name and to use the qualification. Further than that, if you have a practicing certificate, which you need in order to be able to say we are a chartered accountancy practice, then you have to pay extra for that as well. So you pay for your license and you pay for your practicing certificate. And then on top of that, in order to be able to use the letters after your name, use the practicing certificate and use your license, you have to be completing CPD, which is continuous professional development. I mean, as accountants, you'll never struggle to fill in your CPD record. We do CPD all the time, and to have been an accountant during a global pandemic, you will have no problems filling in your CPD record. Like the amount of learning that we've had to do through COVID, with furlough claims, with grants, supporting people, implementing new softwares, really helping people understand the VAT changes, for example. Our professional development is enormous every day, and it's just about finding a way to record that and submit that to your governing body every year. So in answer to your question, Alexandra, how often do you need to renew your licenses? The answer is every year if you would like to keep using the letters after your name. So you can get qualified as a chartered accountant, but you might not want to use the letters after your name, and that's absolutely fine. You'll still be a chartered accountant. You just can't, for example, put ACCA after your name on LinkedIn, for example, unless you are paying for the license. Okay, so Brian on Facebook Messenger has said, I have quite a data-driven and analytical mind, so I think accounting might be a good option for me. However, I'm not so good at articulating complicated things. Any tips for how to translate numerical or technical information to potential clients? Yeah, it's quite an interesting concept, Brian, because I think a lot of people that become accountants, it comes back to soft skills quite a lot of the time. And we always say, like, I can train you to be an accountant, but I can't teach you people skills. And one of the biggest parts of our job is almost being a translator for clients and really helping them to understand and not feel alienated and to feel really, really comfortable. So I'm trying to think what my top tips would be at like teaching you to translate things. I'd say the first thing would be to practice. So if we get employees that sort of aren't used to dealing with clients, we would absolutely like ease them into it really gently and gradually. So I wouldn't just park somebody on Zoom in front of a client and ask them to explain why their corporation tax bill is £6,000. I would firstly get them to do the computation and make sure that they're really happy and comfortable as a trainee, understanding the numbers. I would then, the next time they do the same thing, I would then ask them to maybe draft an email to the client outlining what work you've done, what the tax bill is, what their responsibilities are, and how they need to pay it. Then once they'd done that a couple of times and they were really happy and confident, and I could tell that like they were really getting to grips with translating and speaking to clients, I might then suggest that they actually speak to a client, maybe with me, and we could speak to them together. So I can jump in and rescue you, Brian, if you get nervous or you don't know the answer to a question. And then again, from there, you'd move on to taking those phone calls and then maybe Zoom calls yourself. So I wouldn't worry. And I think for a lot of people, understanding the numbers and understanding the answers is really important. And then once you do that, it's just about becoming comfortable translating and speaking to clients. And don't forget, they're like wasps. They're more scared of you than you are of them. So like you'll never ever have any problems, and understanding the numbers for a lot of people can be very difficult. And if you can do that, you'll be able to answer the questions. It's all just about confidence, practice, and feeling supported by your employer as well. So, okay, this is a really lovely question. So Michelle on Facebook Messenger has said, on your journey to becoming an accountant, what were the key moments that made you absolutely sure this was the profession for you? That is such a lovely question, Michelle. I think I've always wanted to help people. And I think stereotypically, accountancy isn't a qualification like a nurse or a doctor, but people are like, yes, this is a really lovely, wholesome, energetic, compassionate industry. But for me, it always has been. Like, as small business owners, and we're a small business owner too, like we're not a big corporate firm, and I think that's what people really buy into. The opportunity to help, guide, support people, specifically during a pandemic, has just been phenomenal. And I think for me, a really big part of this has always been about helping people. Even with accountancy as a brand and as a platform, we're on Instagram and we're on YouTube. A really big part of what I do and my role within the business is really translating what an incredible job and journey this has been for me. So we put out a lot of really lovely, wholesome content, just sharing our journey, sharing the behind the scenes bits, talking about the bits that a lot of people don't talk about. And for me, I've almost tried to make this the right profession for me, rather than thinking like, is it the right profession for me? So like when I decided to become an accountant, there was no one within the industry that I could look up to. As a young person, as a female accountant, there was nobody. So that's really sort of like what I've tried to build through my content and through the platform and the community. So I hope that answers your question, Michelle. That was a really lovely question to get. So Stephen has come on to Twitter DMs, and he's going to be the last question for this morning. And Stephen has said, have you got any advice on preparing for a job interview at an accounting firm? Okay, Stephen, my number one top tip, and this goes for anybody interviewing for any job ever, is do not forget that a job interview is a two-way conversation. As much as they are deciding whether or not to hire you, you are there deciding whether or not you want to work for them. And if they're if you are seeing red flags during an interview, if they're asking questions that you're not really sure they should be asking, if they're concentrating on things that you don't feel comfortable with, if there's a funny atmosphere in the office, or you don't feel like the culture is right for you, listen to the red flags. Like, my biggest top tip is to go into the interview being very clear on who you are, what you're looking for, what you want, and what your goals are. And always remember that it is a two-way street. So when you are interviewing, you're interviewing them and they're interviewing you. Second top tip for interviewing would be, if you do go, there's no red flags, you absolutely love them, you would take the job if they offered it to you, tell them. As somebody that hires accountants, apprentices, and managers, being explicit, being really clear, and like putting your feet where you want to be is firstly a very attractive quality, but secondly, as somebody that's hiring, it's really it would fill me with confidence. So if I'd interviewed somebody, I thought it went really well, I was getting good vibes off them. If before you left the interview, Stephen, you said, just to let you know, like, I've absolutely loved my time here today, if you offered me the job, I would absolutely love to accept it. That would, like, just because if I was 50-50 on two people and one person had explicitly said, I would love to work here, I'm going to choose you. So top tips are, go into it remembering that you're interviewing them as well as they're interviewing you. It's not just an interrogation situation. And secondly, be really clear, be explicit, and if you like it, tell them. So there were so many questions flying in. I've literally just had to like pick them out as fast as I can. So if you had a question that I didn't actually get time for today, I would absolutely love to see you over on my Instagram account, which is accountant_she. Yeah, if I didn't answer your question, please send me a DM and I would love to answer it privately for you. The poll results are actually in. So we asked you guys, has your turnover increased since restrictions eased? 10% of you said yes. Sorry, my hesitation was 10% of you said yes, 10% of you said no, and 80% of you said not much change. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have any more questions, or if, again, I didn't get to your question today, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, where my handle is accountant_she. Coming up on Ask the Expert on Monday, we are having a well-deserved day off tomorrow. So coming up on Monday is Ariona, who is a chartered certified accountant and managing director of Major Accounts. You can tune in and learn how to grow your business using cloud and get advice on bookkeeping and accounting. A super quick reminder that if you need any more advice following today's show, you can join the official Intuit SMB community group on Facebook, where there are accountants and business experts like me on hand 24/7. I've had the best time answering your questions this morning, so have a lovely day.